All right, I'm back on this live. I got booted. My Wi-Fi cut out on me. Had to reboot the whole system. Let's restart this. Let's reset this scene, right? We were having a conversation on how do we buy land? Where do we buy land? And then we're going to talk about the right way to buy land. Someone asked, could you buy land with $5,000? My answer was yes, you can buy land with $5,000. That just depends on area. That just depends on location, right? Where you're going to find land at for those prices. I left off, or before I got cut off, I was saying that you won't be able to buy land for $5,000 in popular areas or populated areas. Usually, you won't find them at those prices in populated areas. Common sense should tell us that, right? We wouldn't go to, Melrose. We wouldn't go to the heart of the city. You wouldn't go to the heart of Atlanta and expect to get properties for $5,000. It's not going to happen. However, we've been telling people that once you look on the outskirts of these places, prices drop tremendously. Now, you also need to know what's your end goal. We flip land for a living. So 95% of the time, our end goal is to turn a profit. So we must know where to find properties for discounted prices if we're looking to turn a profit. That may not be your end goal. This is why we like land and we like this business and this space, because there's many options. Your goal may be to get it at a decent price, build a home on it or place a structure on it and flip out that way. There's a lot of ways. We just care not to entertain houses because there's a lot of other unnecessary steps that goes into houses. When it comes to raw land, I buy it as is and I sell it as is, meaning that there's nothing for me to fix. If the tree fall down on it, it falls down on it. Buy it with a fell down tree. I don't care. So that's the only reason why I per se don't focus on the houses. But we all know that you can put a structure on a house. So where would you start to buy land or look to buy land at what some will consider reasonable prices? Rural markets, the outskirts. I've always give the example of Atlanta, right? There was a time that Atlanta wasn't as popular as it is now. So when it comes to Fulton County, because that's where Atlanta sits, in Fulton County, you have the city of Atlanta in the middle, and then everything goes around it, the outskirts. And and it pushes out further and further. Before there was the Atlanta boom, you had the city. And then right out on the outskirts of the city, at one point, people were calling that rural. That was considered a rural market. And people were saying, nothing's out there. I'm not going out there. And that was the time to get that market at a good price because the dirt was cheap. There was nothing out there. Then they fully developed that ring, right? So what happens once they fully develop that ring? What happened next? They had to push out even further. And as they pushed out further, the people on the first two rings, they said the same thing as what the city said. I'm not going out there. There's nothing out there. And you keep missing the boom. And so on and so forth. And it continued to do that. And currently it's doing that now. But you keep missing it. You keep missing the boom. How do I know it's a boom? Because I study it. I'm in the boom. I'm working the area. I have a partner. He bought Fulton County, outer skirts, 30 minutes away from the airport. He bought Fairburn area. He bought in 2015. He bought 30 acres. He bought 30 acres for $300,000 in 2015. He lived on it with his family. Nothing was out there. Nothing was out there. Fast forward from 2015 to 2026, that same property is currently on the market for 5.7. He's turned down 3.7 from 300,000. Now, how is that possible that it went from 300,000 to 5.7 in 10 years? Because he caught the boom at the right time. Now, when you come in that area, there's plenty out there. Starbucks is out there. Chick-fil-A is out there. Supermarkets are out there. Several subdivisions are out there. A new emergency room hospital is built out there. The largest one in Fulton County is built out there. What does that do to an area? It spikes the prices of everything, of the land, of the homes, everything witnesses appreciation. So you have to know how to get in front of it. See, we be asleep, and that's what they want you to do. They want you to stay asleep while they creep. You're listening to the 50 Cent beef. They're looking at the market to see what's happening next. Word of advice, when it comes to Georgia, you missed that boom. If you want to know where Georgia is going next, I'll tell you, they're going next. The county outside of, you should know where I'm saying, right outside of Fulton County. They're going to the surrounding counties. Do your homework on which one is the right one. And to take it a step further, they beat you to the next county next to Fulton County. I know this for a fact. They're 2 counties over from Fulton County. And what are they doing in 2 counties over? Because if you ride through there, it's going to look like nothing. Because right now, it is nothing. They're not doing anything but buying it. They're just buying the dirt. And they're holding on to the dirt. Why? Because it will experience the same thing that Fulton County experienced at some point. And if they get the dirt now, they get it at the best price. And as it gets developed, you'll have to, it's like Monopoly, people. It's real life Monopoly. While everybody fighting for Boardwalk, somebody's getting that Baltic Avenue for dirt cheap, and you're going to have to come around and land on it, and you're going to pay when it's 3 big hotels on it. It's real life Monopoly, but we're asleep and we don't understand how the game is played. So they're 2 counties over right now, currently 2 counties over, and they're buying the dirt. Did you know that in Fulton County that only 5% of landowners in Fulton County are real people? 95% of the landowners are all corporations. What does that tell you? Why are corporations heavily focused on owning all the land there? Because of what I just explained. Because they saw at an early time in the game that it was going to have a boom and a spike. And it did. And they cashed out. Some of them held and will continue to hold. In Fulton County, they've built subdivisions that they won't, you can't even buy the homes. They're just for rent. They want to control the market. So how does this work? It works the same in other areas. You just have to know how to identify the areas. It happened in Arizona. Before Phoenix was fully developed, it was the same exact thing. This happens in multiple places, and it will continue to happen just like that. We're so tricked that we go after what's popular when it's at the height of its popularity. That means that it's too late. What's happening in Texas now? There's a boom happening in Texas right now. They're shifting and they're moving to a certain area in Texas right now. Most people, once it gets popular, then we come to the party late. Now we can't get it. We can't get it at the good prices. Now you have to pay. So if you want to know where you can get it at good prices, you have to look on the outskirts unless you have good money to compete with the inner cities. And most of us don't, because the inner cities, they gang up on you. Hedge funds, corporations. We can't, no, you can't compete. Even if you have a couple of dollars, you won't compete. That's why when you check this, the data and the statistics of who own lands, culturally, we're last. Our focus is somewhere else. This is something that's tangible. This is something that people live on a daily basis. We focus on entertainment. Outskirts. We're late to the party. So now you have to go to the outskirts. It's a real thing when we talk about rural markets. It's a real thing when we say, are you really ready to, how do you win? You have to hit the restart button and you have to start from scratch. Now we're talking culturally. You have to start from scratch, but are we ready to start from scratch? Probably not. And if you don't ever stand, you don't stand for something, you'll continue to fall for everything. So as it pertains to everyday people in making money, let's dumb this conversation down. When it comes to making money in land, this gets a little simpler, right? Look on rural markets. When you look in rural markets, it'll be a lot of available land. It'll be less developed. We study things like people per square mile. Why is that important to know people per square mile? Because that states how many people live in the area. If it's some rural markets, some counties, they're big counties, but there's not a lot of people that live there. What does that say? What does that indicate? That indicates that there's a lot of available property, most of the time land. And if they're not using the land, you stand a higher chance at getting the deals that you want to get. I hope that makes sense. Do you care when it comes to how you monetize it? Do you care what kind of piece of land it is? Does it have to be in the heart of the city for you to feel like you made a score? Not for me, it doesn't. So look on the outskirts. You can compete, you can try. I'm just telling you, it's a harder task. It's a taller task to get it right where you live at. And if it was such an easy thing, you would probably have it. Comment the word dirt, by the way. We have our 3-day challenge going down on Monday, 3/16. Monday 3-day challenge does kick off. So comment the word dirt if you're not registered. Once you comment that word dirt, you will get a link sent to your inbox. Make sure you click onto the link. Make sure you register. Once you register, we have a private chat room where we already are having conversations about land and land ownership. Join our Telegram room once you register. And if you were on this live, join the room and say, Ray, I was on the live, and I'll personally text you back. And you'll be in, and you'll see what's going on in that private room, and we'll jump off or kick off the challenge this Monday. So comment dirt to get yourself registered for that. Now, I stated that we were going to discuss, I told you where to buy it. Now, how to buy it. So how to buy it is just simple formula. There's a formula for all of this. There's a method to the madness for all of this. It's just we use a simple formula called facts. From a virtual standpoint, we want to make sure when we're evaluating land that certain things check out. Whether we're buying it from a tax sale auction or whether we're buying it directly from a person, certain things have to check out. The other caveat about inexperienced people when you're buying land, right? Most people want, if you don't have the experience and they want these such nice properties, you're probably going to pay closer to asking price or market price than I would, because you don't have the experience to know what to look at, to know how to knock the price down. So the nicer the area, the savvier the seller. Typically, people in nicer areas typically know what they have. They typically have held the land or have the land for a particular reason. That's just how it works. You want a 40 acre, you're probably dealing with a savvier seller than someone that owns 2 acres. People don't just own 40 acres and don't know what it's worth. Can you get a deal? It's like a crapshoot at that point. If you want to raise the chances or the percentages of you getting the numbers that you want, you have to go in areas to where the land is more available. It's less